Hello, good morning. I hope that everyone is well. We've had quite a week this week. It's been a roller coaster of the week. On Wednesday, Bertie Boo was attacked by a small dog, and it was a totally unprovoked attack. My husband was walking out of our house along our driveway when some holidaymakers that were staying in one of our cottages opened the door of their cottage, and their small Westie shot out before they could stop it, charged at Bertie Boo, fastened its teeth around Bertie Boo's front leg quite low down, and all Bertie Boo tried to do was to run away, and the dog's teeth tore through his leg. It was horrible. My mother wanted me to be a doctor, but there was no way I could ever be a doctor. I'm not very good with blood. And it's amazing what you can do and what you can cope with when you have to. But when I looked at his leg, it was like, oh my God. The one gash was, it was awful. You could see the bone. Anyway, our vets were absolutely wonderful, and we spent most of the day at the vets, and when we got home, everybody was exhausted, and Bertie Boo was just so groggy from the anaesthetic he had, so he sort of slept all evening. And we didn't have a very good night. In the night he was whimpering and he was restless, and we were up and down the stairs all night. But the next day, whilst he was tired, he was content, and we went back to the vets on Friday, and they were very pleased with how the stitches were holding, because it was in this area where you sort of move, there's a lot of movement and a lot of flexing. There was some concern about the stitches holding and about infection, but the vet was very pleased. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you that have left messages of support and concern about Bertie. The outpouring of care and concern has truly touched Ray and I. And I know if Bertie Boo understood, he would be very touched as well. So thank you. Right, so what else happened this week? Well, we released the beautiful Mary Ann diaper. And this sampler stitched by Kathy Ball is truly one of the most beautiful samplers I have ever seen. Now, the model is at the attic for summer school, and the ladies who've attended summer school have had the thrill of seeing Mary Ann in the flesh, and I've been hearing back how blown away that many of the ladies have been with this beautiful sampler. So Mary Ann, if you haven't seen the video I released during the week, do you know what? I released the video just before Bertie Boo was attacked, so it was on Wednesday. So if you haven't seen my video about Mary Ann diaper, please go back and have a look. It's only a very, very short one, but I talk about the sampler and give you lots of information about supplies and stitches, stitch count, etc. What else? Oh, on Thursday, Janice made a very important announcement about the Anne Morrison stitch along, and due to the overwhelming response to Anne Morrison and the sheer number of orders there have been for the silk kits, that the stitch along start date has been put back to the beginning of December, and so many people are very, very pleased about that. So this is going to turn out to be a stitch that we start in the month of Christmas. And do you know what? We're going to be stitching this top band in Christmas, and these are very Christmassy colours as well. Now, as many of you will know, everybody who purchases Anne Morrison's booklet receives a free PDF download of the beautiful Heather M. Jardine, a sampler from New Zealand. And because we're having to wait on the start date of the stitch along, everybody who's placed their order this week has received a link to Heather, and we are all now starting to stitch Heather to fill in our time before the start of the stitch along for Anne Morrison. And I'm stitching Heather as well, and because my Heather is not a model, I'm stitching this little sampler as a gift for a very young child, a toddler. I am making this sampler my own, so I am choosing my own colours for Heather, and I'm tweaking the sampler a little bit here and there. I'm choosing bright colours that are going to appeal to a child, because I want the recipient of my gift to be interested in the sampler. I want the sampler to catch the child's attention and interest. And do you know what? After years now of purely working on models where I have to stitch certain stitches with certain colours, it's really, really nice to be able to do my own thing. It's really liberating to be able to choose your own colours. And because there is a shortage of silks at the moment, we are asking everybody who stitches Heather to stitch from their stash. Now, it's not a requirement. You can go and buy the DMC or the Aversoir to stitch Heather, but we feel it would be really great fun to just pull your own colours and to do your own thing, and we can share the fun of this in the Anne Morrison stitch along. Now, the teddy bear that I stitch, I colour matched the colours of the teddy bear to one of my very well loved teddy bears, and I changed the shell of my snail to red because I love red houses. I've also tweaked a few things. The little teddy bear's chin between the dicky bow and his nose was stitched in the darker brown, but I changed that to the lighter brown because visually that was more appealing to me. With the little snail, on the original sampler, Heather stitched her snail with a little gap on his shell, and I thought that this isolated stitch would be better moved to one stitch over. So I stitched my shell that way. But these are just the things that I'm doing. Now, I put in the border and I put in the dividing rows, and I'm working on this bottom area, and the colours I use in the bottom area are the colours that I will use to stitch the alphabets in the top. So I started with the bottom because I thought it was the better way to make sure my colours were working, and because I really wanted to stitch this teddy bear. And then I wanted to stitch the snail, and then this beautiful parrot. This is a charming sampler. In the Stitch Along group on Facebook this weekend, we're all sharing pictures of our teddy bears, and do you know what, it is surprising how many of us have kept our childhood teddy bears. One lady is stitching her teddy bear as a pink teddy bear because her teddy bear is pink, and I just think that's just so charming. If you would like to have access to Heather's sampler, I've had lots of emails saying, please can we buy Heather's sampler. Heather's sampler is not for sale. It is a thank you gift for everybody who has purchased the booklet for Anne Morrison. Anne Morrison's booklet is available exclusively from Traditional Stitches. This sampler has been issued to celebrate Traditional Stitches 20th anniversary. Now, I released a video in the week talking about all of this, and you know, I must highlight to you that this third print run of Anne Morrison is going to be the last print run. So the booklet for Anne Morrison has inadvertently become limited edition. So if you would like to acquire Anne's booklet, you do need to get your order in with traditional stitches. And I think as well that Anne Morrison's booklet and the PDF for Heather M. Jardine together is just going to cost you, if I work it out in English money, it's 22 English pounds for Anne Morrison's booklet, and you get Heather M. Jardine's PDF download as well. That really is excellent value for money. Okay, so what else has happened in the week? I had 2 emails. Well, I've had hundreds of emails, but I had 2 emails that were of particular interest. In my video last weekend, I talked about Agnes' husband and how a needleworker in the US had Agnes's sister's sampler. Well, I had permission in the week to show you Agnes's sister's sampler. And I think it's really, really lovely when you can link samplers together. You will see on Christina's sampler that the family initials in black are the same ones in black as Agnes's sampler, and they are her paternal grandfather, paternal grandmother, maternal grandfather, but not her paternal grandmother. Her paternal grandmother was Agnes Anderson, and Agnes Anderson lived well into her 90s. Right, the other email I received this week is from a lady who has experience and knowledge of framing and conserving samplers. And she wrote to me about the ghost sampler that I showed last weekend. If you remember, I showed you a backing board that I had removed from an antique sampler, and you could see the outline, or the shadow almost, of the sampler that was lifted from the backing board. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you that backing board again because I'd only kept it to show you in the video, and after that it was actually burnt. It was, you know, because it was, you know, I don't keep old pieces of board. There is no purpose for me to keep it. If there was written information on it about the sampler, then that would have been different. Anyway, this lady was telling me in her email that she thought that the ghost sampler had appeared on the board because of sunlight. And I think actually she has a very valid point with that. If you leave something in the sun, it yellows. And she was saying that she felt that the sampler had been displayed in the light, and the sun shining on the sampler had caused the backboard to yellow in the sun. And I could imagine that it, you know, could really happen. And she was saying how important it is that we use the right sort of glass that prevents damage by light, and that is a very valid point. I think with the sampler that I showed, it was a case of the sampler had pulled the colour from the board slightly, because the back of the board was also the same dark colour, and the sampler itself hasn't really bleached in the sun. It is very, very strong. But I still think that her theory is a very valid theory, and I'm sure it happens on a lot of samplers. A few weeks back I showed you that little rabbit embroidery that I had framed, and I'd had the non-reflective glass put into the sampler. Well, I'm actually going back now, reglazing a lot of my own needlework with the non-reflective glass that has the protection. It's museum quality glass. It's expensive glass, but I've made the decision that I want to protect my own personal work. I've always protected my antique samplers, but I'm giving more attention to my own work now, because I was thinking, well, if I don't protect it, how is it ever going to last? And although it might all get thrown onto the rubbish pile, into the skip at the end of my days, if I don't take steps to protect it, then there is no chance it's going to last. What did I acquire this week? Well, I haven't really been busy shopping because my attention has been elsewhere, but the one thing I did get were these glasses, and these glasses come in this very thin little case, and these glasses I bought them because I have trouble reading things without reading glasses, and I'm always losing my glasses. Sometimes I'm lucky, I find I've got a pair on my head and a pair tucked down the front of my shirt, and other times I can't find any glasses at all. And I bought these glasses because this gets attached to the back of my phone case, so in theory I've always got my phone with me, so I should always have a pair of glasses. And these glasses are actually what you call pince-nez. Now, I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. And they sit on the end of your nose, and there are no arms on them. And the other reason that I wanted these glasses was because when I read in bed at night, I haven't got arms sticking into the side of my head, and I'm really pleased with these. These are reading strength, but I have subsequently ordered a pair that are in a stronger strength, and I'm going to try to use them while I'm stitching. So that was my only acquisition this week. Mind you, I have ordered something this week. This weekend, or this whole week, I should have been in Arizona with some friends. One of my best friends and I were travelling over together, and we've been planning the trip to summer school for so long, and we were gathering with a group of other friends, and we were all going to have a good week in Arizona, and we had lots of other things that we were going to do after summer school was over. So I had been saving in my piggy bank for spending money in the attic, because you can't go to the attic needleworks and not come away with lots of goodies. There's so many beautiful things at the attic. So what I've done, I've used my money I'd saved for stash acquisitions at summer school to order a bespoke cabinet to house all my Auvert Soir 103 spools, and my spools of Saphine, my Londonderry linen threads from Auvert Soir, and this cabinet is going to be made in walnut to match some other furniture I have, and it's going to be around about 140 centimetres tall, and I worked that out because 140 centimetres is sort of my shoulder height, so that the drawers are going to be very thin and numerous. So when I open the top drawer, I can see into the very top one, so I'm getting maximum storage. The drawers are going to be very thin, and they're going to have dividers in them so that my spools will sit in horizontal rows, and I will have dividers so I can get multiple rolls in the drawers. And I know it's going to be a few months because the gentleman who makes these, he's very busy, and he's a craftsman, and when it's a craftsman, everything takes time. But when it does come, I will show you the spool cabinet. I'm excited, and it's a little bit of consolation for not being able to attend summer school this year. When I was at the attic last year, I bought a little magnetic needle case, and I keep my needles in the case, and they are nice and safe. I'm very careful about my needles because particularly these number 12 needles, they are so fine that it's very easy that you put the needle down, and even a draft, or you just get up and you brush against the table, and these can just go anywhere and everywhere, and they're really hard to see. I'm always so worried about Bertie standing on one of these needles or ingesting one of these needles, and I find that if I put them on a magnetic surface, then they're fixed there. I used to have a habit of putting them on my keyboard for my iPad. This is a keyboard that attaches to my iPad, and this is magnetic, and it would stick to that. But then I found that I managed to get a needle down my one key, and that messed up my space bar on my iPad. So this is what I'm using for my needles, and I picked this up at summer school last year. It's such a shame not to be there, but my friends and I, we're all now thinking about summer school next year and gathering. Do you know what, this year I had so many plans. We had lovely holidays booked. I think I was probably going to be flying practically every month of the year, and here I am at home for the whole year. I'll tell you another question I had from a needleworker this week about Scottish samplers. Because we have the Jane Fiddis and the Anne Morrison stitch along going, there's been a lot of talk about Scottish samplers, and it's lovely that when people are stitching samplers that they're eager to find out more information about the samplers and the history behind the samplers, and there's a lot of interest in Scottish samplers now. And the email I had from another needleworker was about the best book for finding out about Scottish samplers. And my favourite book about Scottish samplers is Naomi Tarrant's Remember Now Thy Creator. And this is a fabulous book, so well written, so much information in there, and so beautifully illustrated. You will learn a lot from this book. But the problem with this book is that it's out of print, and it goes for silly money now on eBay and Amazon. I believe that there's a copy up for sale at the moment at $900 odd, and that is a ridiculous price to have to pay. You can expect to pay maybe $200-300 for the book, but $900 is really taking the mickey. But there is another book available on Scottish samplers that is a very good book, and that is Embroidered Stories, written by Helen Wilde. This book is about, it's based on an exhibition of Scottish samplers that took place probably around about 2 years ago now. And the exhibition was based on Leslie B. Durst's collection, and Leslie has the most amazing collection of Scottish samplers, and I must say that Leslie is so generous with her knowledge and sharing her samplers. The week before last, I messaged Leslie asking her for some guidance on a sampler, and within a very short space of time, Leslie came back to me with the information. I knew if anybody knew, it would be Leslie, and she came back with some information, and we shared information about a certain school of samplers, and in the next few months you will be seeing us releasing the sampler that I needed some guidance from Leslie on. Anyway, I'm digressing. This book is full of beautiful samplers from Leslie's collection, the same as Remember Now Thy Creator. That book has a lot of Leslie's samplers in, but this book, it is available to purchase, and it's available from the National Museums of Scotland's online bookstore, and it is only £9.99. It's just under 10 English pounds, which is probably around about 13 US dollars, I would imagine. And I mentioned this to the lady who was after Remember Now Thy Creator, and I did say to her that if the book wasn't available for shipping to the States, that she could have it shipped to me and I would ship it on to her. But it turned out that this book, the museum will ship it to the States. So if you're interested in Scottish samplers for £10, this is well worth buying. Embroidered Stories by Helen Wilde. And talking about books, this week I discovered on YouTube that they have quite a nice selection of audiobooks that you can listen to free of charge. I've used all my credits up on Audible, so until I have my next credit, I was hunting around for something to engage my interest whilst I was stitching, and they have some really lovely books, and the second book I listened to has really touched me, and I wanted to share that book with you. And it's an old book. It was written in 1952 by Barbara Pym. Papa Yankee, what's M for? M for mother. I'm sure it's something different in the phonetic alphabet. Mike, M for Mike maybe? Her name is Barbara Pym. And the book is called Excellent Women. And this book has touched me so much. It's very well written, and it gives us an insight into a generation of women that didn't marry, probably led quite stifled lives. They were genteel women that had fallen on maybe hard times, or just ended up as lonely women and married women because they had looked after parents. And the women in the book are mostly, or the two main women in the book are daughters or sisters of vicars, ministers, and it's touched me, this book, and I think that it might be a book that you might enjoy listening to whilst you stitch. I love looking into the lives of the women that have gone before us, and the women in this book are the generation of my mother and my grandmother. And I think as well that if you can understand women's lives in certain times, it really helps you understand the history of women and the development of women, and what we have to be grateful for in our own lives. Women in the Western world, we do live different lives to women in other parts of the world, and our forebearers as well. Anyway, I'm looking forward today to choosing another book off YouTube until I get my next Audible credit. I think I'm probably being a little bit wicked this week, having this sampler on my stand, but I'm working on writing the booklet for this sampler at the moment. So this is the sampler that's taking up a lot of my thought process this week, and this sampler was actually a travelling project of mine for quite some time, and Emma has been much on my mind this week because when I was at summer school last year, this was my travelling project, and when I was at the January Sampler Symposium at the Attic, this was my travel project as well, and I finished her in the early part of this year, and I have been hugging her to myself. When you reproduce a sampler, it's very much like giving birth to a child. You go through the conception, the gestation, the delivery, and I've been savouring this little baby to myself the last couple of months, but I'm now getting ready to give her to the world. So this sampler will be releasing shortly, but there's going to be a little bit of a twist with this sampler. We're just putting the finer details to the twist at the moment. Do you know what? I think I've probably been nattering far too long. Have a good week. I hope I have a better week than this week. So stay safe, stay well, and until the next video, bye-bye.